we are going to move quickly to our next group of people. Our first panel is utility coins, creating new markets. So I'd like to invite to the stage Richard Liu, partner at FBG Capital, Jason Inch, founder of Genaro Network, strategic lead, Joseph Urgo, co-founder of District OX, Pascal Thellmann, CMO of Bounty OX, and the moderator will be George Lee, CEO of WeTrust.io. If you could please come to the stage.
Joining us today. So let's start off by a round of introductions, starting from Richard, and just talk about your company briefly and your experience in the blockchain industry so far.
Yeah, thanks very much, George. Just to keep it short, my name is Richard. I come from FBG Capital. Actually, FBG started the year of 2015 that we start as a Bitcoin arbitrage fund. And to today, we have about $1 billion US per month volume trading all around the exchanges. And in the year of 2016, we started investing in ICO. The first project we invested is NEO, and later on, we invested in Omiseco, a lot of other projects as well. We recently, just last week, we launched our new token fund. It's called Volatility Token Fund. We're purely like a crypto hedge fund, and we have 3 partners. The founding partner, Vincent, also be here today. And the mission for our fund is really we want to be the BlackRock for this industry, and we want to be the bridge, sort of, for the traditional kind of capital to look at in the crypto space. Also, I think the strategy, also the vision we have for the blockchain, all the cryptocurrency as a whole, is we're really looking into the projects who can completely disruptive the infrastructure we have for now, and also we huge investment into the fundamentals. For a lot of projects, just to have a community, but lack of the innovation on the the technology perspective, we probably pay less attention. So I just think that onwards there will be more and more crypto projects, and also a lot of crypto fund as well. And FBG, we just want to be like the one rather than one of. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name's Joe. I am the project lead at District 0x. We're building a network of decentralized marketplaces. It's built on Ethereum. Also, we leverage Aragon, which is a decentralized, it's basically an operating system for DAOs, or decentralized entities. Prior to that, I spent about 3 years at Coinbase as an operations manager and founded Sorcerers, which was a recruiting company for Ethereum-based projects.
Hi everybody, my name is Jason Inch. I'm the co-founder of Genaro Network and strategic lead at the project. Genaro Network is a public chain which is providing kind of an ecosystem development platform for DApps. So what we want to do is provide storage, especially for DApps, to store their big data or other data applications on a kind of a native blockchain environment. So we'll have our own public chain to do that. We'll have full smart contracts. At present, we're on Ethereum as a testnet, and we'll be launching the Genaro public chain in 2018. And relevant to today's topic, I mean, the Genaro token, GNX, is a utility. And we were very interested in creating this kind of tokenomics model of a circular economy. And we want to look at everybody that's participating in Genaro as one of the stakeholders. So I'm looking forward to talking more about that today. Thanks.
My name is Pascal Thellmann. I'm a co-founder of Bounty 0x. And I really got into the whole crypto space from the sales and marketing side. And that's also my role right now at Bounty 0x. So we are building a trustless bounty hunting network. We launched our alpha around 6 or 7 weeks ago. Currently have slightly a bit over 1,000 signed up bounty hunters. And yeah, that's the current state of the project. Because a bounty can really be quite a confusing concept. So in our context, a bounty is simply a highly specific task for which a reward is allocated. So in the Old West, governments used to post bounties for the capture of dangerous criminals, where we see like these huge wanted signs, and where sheriffs then need to catch the criminals. And this concept is still well alive in today's world, where where bounties are often used in the context of bug bounties, in software development, consulting, journalism, and research. So,
Great, thanks guys. A little bit about myself. Currently, I'm CEO and co-founder of WeTrust. We recently, we started last year, basically on the idea and concept of, hey, Bitcoin and Ether are forms of decentralized money, but what is the use of decentralized money if there aren't also decentralized financial services? And so what we're doing is creating on Ethereum a suite of different types of financial products, starting with savings and lending, as well as credit identity, and then eventually that can lead to products such as insurance products that are running on the blockchain. We actually are building out our first product right now, and we'll be releasing that to the public in 1 week. It'll be a public beta version. Okay, great, so let's jump right into this. One question I have for you guys is utility tokens. We're seeing a lot of different types of projects where you need the token to take to participate on your platform. So maybe each one of you can talk briefly about what is what is unique about the token on your platform and why it's kind of important or essential for your product. Maybe Joe, you can kick us off.
Yeah, sure. So at District 0x, we have a token that really ties our whole network together. So we're building a platform for platforms, basically. It's a framework that allows anyone to launch a communal marketplace. So when I say a communal marketplace, I mean something like an Airbnb or an Uber. Really just a two-sided marketplace that has harnessed the powers of decentralization, but really the people who have benefited from that has been pretty concentrated. It's the private shareholders, and that's really it. The users don't have much say in the development of the platform, and they also don't have much opportunity to participate in the profit generated by that. So our token allows people to launch our platform allows people to launch a marketplace, and our token allows pretty much anyone who wants to participate in the governance of that marketplace to stake their tokens to it, mint what is essentially voting shares in that marketplace, and use that to propose and participate on the governance of the platform, and also decide how that platform may be monetized and how any of that revenue is going to be utilized.
So the GNX token for Genaro Network is, first of all, it has the standard token features of being able to access the platform, obviously. And for us, that means being able to utilize storage services. So people who provide storage on the network will be compensated in tokens. People who use storage will pay in tokens and so on. But what Genaro is also trying to do is create a whole ecosystem around the token model. We feel that exchange is not enough. We want to create kind of a mini token economy. So Genaro is opening up hubs, and those hubs will have incubators. Within the hubs, all transactions can be done in GNX tokens as well. And the incubated companies will also receive GNX tokens to kickstart their own operations. So we feel that GNX is sort of going beyond some of the standard utility tokens that are out there in trying to create, again, an overall circular economy model. Now, it's going to take some time to do, but we're very excited about making that happen.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, so at Bounty 0x, we are building a platform that enables anyone to post a bounty campaign, bounty hunters to complete the tasks in order to claim a reward, and bounty sheriffs to review the submissions made by bounty hunters in order to release payment. And in order to ensure, so that's the three actors that we have on this platform. We have the bounty host, which is the company that posts the bounty campaign, the bounty hunter, and the bounty sheriff. And these three users interact in a trustless way on the bounty, on our network through a series of Ethereum smart contracts. And in order to ensure that they are actually honest between each other, for example, that the bounty hunter submits only correct work, or that the bounty sheriff only makes correct verifications, or that the bounty host only submits fair bounties. In order to ensure that all these users are honest, we created the BNTY token, which is a utility token, which needs to be used by every single actor on the network in our staking mechanism. And every time a user on this network is not honest, so for example, when a bounty sheriff makes an incorrect verification, then a portion of their staked tokens are burned.
Great. So, and at WeTrust, it's similar to several other projects where we're also trying to create an ecosystem where you can use our token to access premium features or various services, which you can still use the product for free, but with our token, you can access other parts of the product. But one question I have for you guys is, how do you see the use of your token being essential or unique in terms of why, say using Ethereum or some other kind of token that exists would be suboptimal? And what is kind of the real value that can be created by having your own token? Any one of you guys?
Sure. So I'll start things off. We kind of need a token specifically for the reason that we need a registry to gauge who can access our network. So when I say our network, we have a lot of features built up around the basic framework that we're building that will allow people to easily participate in the services. So when I say that, like a network-wide directory, a network-wide escrow service, a network-wide search function, lots of tools for discovery and just tools that would maximize the network effects of being a part of this platform. So we leverage a token curated registry model. To do so, you have to actually submit you have to apply for the registry to the network. You would affix a bid with tokens that has to be priced in DNT. Anyone else can challenge that submission by submitting a similar amount of DNT tokens. And that brings it to a vote where the network participants can decide on whether or not they want to allow that submission onto the network. The reason we need a unique token to do that is because if any other token is allowed to participate in it, then outside people, competitor product could just buy a bunch of Ethereum and vote on the outcome maliciously. So, and a unique token kind of ties the network together in that sense.
For GNX, why do we need a unique token? As a platform provider, as a storage provider in particular, I think I could sum it up into 2 words: CryptoKitties. Does anybody know what I mean by that? Well, if you're providing some access to critical data on blockchain or off blockchain through decentralized storage, you don't want that data inaccessible because CryptoKitties are clogging the network. So not only is GNX, again, its own token, but we are our own public chain. Right? And we do that because we want to be able to control certain aspects of how that chain is used, to optimize it for data storage and transaction speed and so on. And we wouldn't be able to do that with Ethereum or another public blockchain that's shared among a broader community. So we do support Ethereum, and we think that that's the best platform and smart contracts and so forth to use going forward. But we really also feel the need to have our own token to make some of these things more efficient.
Yeah, so Joe and Jason really covered pretty much everything I wanted to mention also. And just to maybe to add 2 points. So at Bounty 0x, we really want to be as blockchain agnostic as possible. So instead of using, for example, Ether for our staking mechanism, we have decided to take a token, which could essentially sooner or later be also converted to, for example, the Waves platform if we see that that would be a more efficient solution. And in some way, although this is not the key point why we decided to launch a token, tokens also seem to generate some loyalty to a platform. So if somebody has tokens, that's a sense of loyalty that is built to the platform. So expanding on what Jason and Joe said, those are 2 additional reasons for that.
Right, and I think expanding on that point is there are a lot of niche communities that are very passionate about certain topics. For example, our product would be very geared towards a long-term vision of financial inclusion. And so that attracts a certain type of demographic, people who are really passionate about using these alternative types of community finance. And that can also help foster creating a community of developers who can also use the token for certain privileges when they build on our platform in the future. Richard, from your perspective as an investor, what kinds of things are you looking for when you evaluate different projects in terms of the use of the token, And what's your perspective on the things that we discussed so far?
Yeah, I think it's sort of just a follow-up on the Jason's comments on CryptoKitty. So I think it's a really kind of a funny but it's a good example for something we actually use those tokens to do things. Because a lot of projects we see right now is sort of up in the air, right? It's want to do something for the future, but not necessary to solve the like for the investors or the token holders right now to use it. As we all know that most of the project, actually all the project kind of introduce a token as a payment solution at the very, very beginning. From actually a lot of people saying, if it's just the payment solution, well, why don't we just use the other current currencies that already be well adopted? But for our perspective, if you just say it's a payment solution, I think it's okay, because you don't have to create a lot of buzzword around it to sort of make yourself kind of unique. But also we do think that the consensus at a lot of us, the other like the panelists just shared is correct. So if you sort of give the community a better version of how they participate into the like development or the for the future, like how the ecosystem is going to grow as a early adopter or as part of the network, I think is okay. So, but also on the ecosystem, you sort of like need to pay attention on how you design those consensus, because we see a lot of it doesn't work like that. It's going to be centralized again, and it's really like maybe for the you know, the people stake those tokens for the opportunity to vote for the decision. It's okay, but you're gonna see really less likely those current investors type of those kind of a person. It's still will potentially be monopolied by some of the big token holders who not necessarily contribute for the development of the network. So I just think that on several perspectives that for a lot of projects out there, they need to sort of pay attention on the pitch that they come to the investors rather than create a lot of buzzword. Also, another thing that I think is more fundamental is that you sort of at least need a lawyer to vetting those projects before you come to any exchanges or investors for saying that you are not a security token, because a lot of projects we see that they didn't do it. They even don't hire a lawyer to do it. And for especially we know that for the exchanges in the US, they especially require a US lawyer or US law firm to issue that statement. So this is very, very important at the very beginning when you design the token. So that's about it. And I think more about protocol level. If anybody sort of understanding, so they have some innovation around the scaling or the privacy. So they can also do, what they do is that the new blockchain they introduced. So I think it's very, very interesting that we're looking at. Yeah.
Do you guys have any follow-ups to what they said? Okay, so I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the crowd, a lot of people who are working on their own projects and thinking about how can I create a new ecosystem, and how can I create a token that can incentivize all of the actors, right? And I think, the creation of the Bitcoin, when Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the white paper, he really created a really strong incentive system. And I think that's one thing that everyone or all token models should really try to strive for, where all kind of actors are incentivized to do work, right? And so, but going a little bit more into specifics, what are some of the things that you guys would recommend to projects out there in terms of, as you design a token model, what are the things that you really think about?
Yeah, so just in terms of thinking of the stakeholders of a network, it always just helps to visualize and draw out who specifically is participating in a network, what their desires are, what they're trying to accomplish, and then figure out if a token makes sense to actually align those interests. I think one thing that we see in a lot of these days is tokens just used first as a fundraising mechanism, second as a feature. I think that's really the wrong way to look at things. You should start with looking at from a product perspective, what you're trying to build, what you're trying to accomplish, and then look at how a token could make those things work together and coordinate people on the network.
Yeah, so I don't really have like a big answer for this, but maybe it helps if I give an example of how exactly the token mechanics work at Bounty 0x. So the token is used by three users on our network. So first of all, the bounty host needs to stake BNTY tokens in order to make a submission. And every time he posts a bounty that is maybe illegal or maybe that does not fit into our terms, then that bounty will be rejected and a portion of their tokens is burned. So that really creates this incentive for bounty hosts to only post bounties that are of a superior quality, because if they know that the bounty doesn't meet our terms, then they will probably not stake the tokens because they risk losing money. Secondly, the token is also used by bounty hunters, which need to stake tokens in order to make certain submissions. So, sorry? You mean the bounty host part? Yeah, so the BNTY token is used by bounty hosts, and they need to stake a certain amount of BNTY tokens before posting a new bounty on the platform. And whenever they post a new bounty, for example, a bug bounty that somebody is rewarded for finding issues in their code, if that bounty is rejected because maybe it doesn't fit into our terms or because it doesn't have fair conditions, then a portion of the tokens of the bounty host is burned and the submission is rejected. Yeah, and secondly, the token is used by bounty hunters, which is the user that completes bounty tasks on the platform. And bounty hunters need to stake a certain amount of BNTY tokens whenever they make a bounty submission. So for example, if they find a software vulnerability in a code, they would say, hey, this is the vulnerability, and I stake 1,000 BNTY tokens to say that this is actually an accurate affirmation. And if it turns out that this submission is rejected because it actually wasn't a vulnerability, then a portion of the tokens is burned. And that also incentivizes bounty hunters only to report correct work, because otherwise, if people have no incentive for submitting correct work, they would just spam the network and see, okay, maybe this works, and maybe I get one reward somewhere. So that's a really important token mechanic there. And finally, the BNTY token is also used by bounty sheriffs, which are the users that review the submissions made by bounty hunters. And that's really the kind of the most important actually token mechanic of our platform, because bounty sheriffs need to stake BNTY tokens in order to review submissions made by bounty hunters. So every time a bounty hunter makes a submission, this submission is checked by 3 bounty sheriffs. And if the majority of the bounty sheriffs agree that this submission should be approved, then this submission will actually be approved. But if, for example, only 2 of them agree and 1 rejects it, then the one that made the incorrect verification would lose a portion of their staked tokens. And that also incentivizes bounty sheriffs to always make correct verifications and not try to fraud the network.
Just to add a couple points, I think, onto what Joseph and Pascal are saying, maybe from a different perspective. So as strategic lead at Genaro, one of my jobs is to think about what's called the tokenomics. And that could include, again, incentivization and other things. But to me, I look back at sort of more traditional economics and say, how do we increase the velocity of the use of the tokens, which is sort of a monetary policy term to say how much is your, I don't want to use the word currency because we're talking about utility tokens here, but it's a similar thing, right? How much times per year are your tokens changing hands? And that's really a key metric that you want to try to follow and increase as somebody who is designing a token system. So you don't want people holding your tokens. You don't want them to be hoarding tokens. So you've got to think about ways to get those tokens in circulation, to get people using them. And so that's sort of just a more foundational idea of how you get to these incentivization situations. Now, how might we do that? I think you can find out a lot of examples from the real world. You look at things like community currencies that are used already today in small communities throughout North America, Europe, and elsewhere, where a community has said, okay, we're going to kind of do an internal economy within our village, town, or neighborhood, and find out how they have created such systems to have their stakeholders to utilize those, community currencies. So you'll find out a lot of information out there, and I think that could be a good resource for entrepreneurs to look into.
Jason, maybe can you tell us a little bit more about how you guys might incentivize that velocity aspect of things?
Yeah, well, so again, like the idea of incentivization, there's literally like so many options you could use, right? And we're looking at many different ideas right now because Genaro is still a newly launched token and newly launched project. So we haven't actually created formal policies about how within our Genaro hub, for example, we're going to incentivize people to utilize the tokens more. But I think one key aspect is we're going to make tokens available on multiple platforms. A common question we get is, how do I get GNX tokens? Now the obvious answer is, well, you go to an exchange to buy them. But we don't want that to be the only place where people get GNX tokens. We want them to get tokens from each other. We want them to get them from other stakeholders. So making that process very smooth is going to be a key success factor for us. So just making it easy to transfer tokens from person to person, kind of like one touch and transfer, that will make things velocity-wise run more smoothly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, just elaborating a bit on that. At Bounty 0x, it's also very important for us to get the token circulating as much as possible and into as many hands as possible. And in order to do that, we decided to hold a continuous bounty program on our own platform for our own token. So we have every quarter we buy back a certain amount of tokens and use those tokens in order to create like a circular economy where people are rewarded for producing tasks that help Bounty 0x grow more. And that can be, for example, by suggesting new platform features, by suggesting code improvements, certain marketing tasks. So that's our approach in order to bring the token into more hands and some more volume.
Okay, great. And it sounds like there's also ways for people to basically earn tokens by doing work.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, well that kind of wraps us up for now. And thank you to all the panelists.
Thank you very much, George.